All righty, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Hello. Welcome to the September 2025 edition of Poetry Superhighway Live, our monthly open reading. I'm thrilled to have you here watching, whether you are live in the Zoom, watching on YouTube, or checking us out over on Facebook. Actually, on Facebook, it's not, I mean, well, I guess if it's the future, you're watching us on Facebook because it's not on Facebook yet. Please do let us know what it's like in the future. We're hoping for something good and better than what we're all experiencing in the rest of the world. Um, in the present. So my name is Rick Lupert. I'm the person behind the Poetry Superhighway. Happy to have you here with us. If you would like to participate in tonight's or this afternoon's open reading, and you haven't already done so, send me a message in the chat. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you have to join the Zoom to do that, and you're more than welcome to participate. In that case, everyone who signs up gets to read a poem, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in your poetry world. It's your chance to let us know what's happening with you, any exciting news and things like that. So, one poem and poetry news, and then we'll move on to the next person. Um, we'll quickly mention before we get going with the open reading that right now, we are in the middle of running our 29th, possibly, annual poetry contest. I was just mentioning before we started to the folks gathered here that that I kind of lose track of the actual number. I think it's 29th. It could be 28th. It's possible I blacked out for a year and it's 30th. I'm not sure. I think it's the 29th annual contest. There are 3 weeks left in the contest. The deadline to enter is September 27th at midnight Pacific time. What that means is that if you're entering online using our online form and paying with credit card, you have to have entered and paid by that time. If you are paying by check, which is the other option to enter the contest, well, you still have to enter by that same time, but your check also has to be received by the following Wednesday in order to make sure I have it in time to get your poems off to the judges. So that's a really important deadline. If you're considering entering and paying by check, you might enter earlier than the last minute in case you're concerned the mail won't deliver your check by the time we need it to make sure the judges have their poems. Other than that, the basic information, it's $1 per poem. 100% of those entry fees taken in are divided amongst the top three scoring poets. The winner of the contest, the top scoring poet, will get 50% of all of the entry fees. The second place winner will get 30%. The third place winner will get 20%. And they get published as Poets of the Week, and they'll also receive an invitation to judge the following year's contest as well. So it's a nice circular cycle. Is that redundant? Circular cycle? I don't know. You decide. That we do every year, and it keeps it fresh. On top of which, as you may know, we have a bunch of sponsors who are very generous and have offered to send prizes to our entrants. And every single year that we've done this contest, we've been able to send every single person who's entered a prize just for entering. So imagine this, you enter the contest with one poem for $1, and you don't win the contest, you still get a prize for entering, thanks to the generosity of these folks. It could be a book, it could be a service, it could be a subscription. There's all kinds of different things that are there. So no one really loses in that sense. And there you go. That's what's happening in poetry superhighway land. We are going to get to our open reading. Here's who I have on the list in this order: Lawrence Berger, M.S. Marquardt, Jennifer Phillips, Randy Fowler, and Lorraine Caputo are the folks who are here. There's at least one other person who signed up who isn't here at this point. Maybe he'll show up. Anyone else is welcome to join. If you're watching, feel free to do so and read a poem in the open. That having been said, MS Marquardt, you are on deck. Our first reader from Rochester, New York is Lawrence Berger. Hello, Larry, if I may call you.
Hello, Rick. Good to see you.
You too.
My first poem goes like this. One line is all I have. One line and one line only. But one line is all you need to catch a fish and feed a man for a lifetime. I'll follow my one line until it ends, or until there are no more words.
Great piece, Larry. Some nice wisdom in there. A good piece to open up our open reading with, too. Especially for those of us who sometimes like have trouble ending a poem, and we realize we're 5 pages in and it should have ended on the first page. What's going on with you in poetry?
Well, speaking of pages, I have a couple of books out. This is my latest poetry collection. It's called Word Dancing Instant Poetry Just Said Words Volume 3. You can get it pretty much anywhere. And this one is The Green Lantern, The Guide for Achieving the American Dream, Volume 3, How to Survive in a Modern Economy, Even on a Poet's Income. I'm also on the board of a poetry organization out here called Just Poets. They do a monthly reading on the second Wednesday of every month. This uh, month's feature happens to be G. Murray Thomas. So if you want, I can put the link in the chat and we can go from there.
Do that. That sounds great. Yeah. A quick secret backstory. Larry and I met when he was a participant in the Southern California poetry scene, and you were here for many years before you moved off to Rochester, where you're still thriving as a poet. And I know G. Murray Thomas was also a big deal out here. He used to run something called Next Magazine, which was like a monthly newspaper for the poetry scene here in Southern Cal. And he pops back into LA every now and then and does readings. So great to hear that update and great to see you again. It's been quite some time.
Good to see you too, Rick.
All right, round of applause for Lawrence Berger. Thank you so much for being here. Come again. On deck is Jennifer Phillips. Please welcome now MS Marquardt. Hello, MS.
Hi. Well, I'll be reading a poem from the new anthology In Praise of Despair, which is a disability pride anthology put out by Beyond the Veil Press. And my poem is called The Sparrows Shake Me, Wake Me, and it's after Mary Oliver. My body and I have endured 1,000 humiliations. I was crying at the most recent when suddenly a house sparrow swooped past my window, landing in the soil below. Then, like lightning, it flew onto a tree branch, trading places with its fellow. The winged messenger quickly drew my eyes to dozens of sparrows, brown bodies flitting from tree to tree, rolling in the earth, hopping in the tall grass, black beaks pecking at invisible treasures, voices chirping incessantly. I realized that the winter's bare branches had sprouted leaves, that the magnolias and cherry blossoms in the distance were starting to bloom, that daffodils and crocuses were springing up, bunches of hope. You do not need to be able-bodied to merit a share in the joys of life. You can be disabled, struggle through each day, unable to leave home, unable to work, unable to be physically present for loved ones' birthdays, recitals, graduations, weddings, and you can still taste nature's beauty and delights. Outside the open window, bright clouds floating in a sunny blue sky, intensified leaf and petal colors on gray days, luscious floral scents drifting on the breeze, a carpet of green ferns swaying in the wind like ocean waves. The sparrows demanding, cheeping, peeping, shrieking, shout at me, as if to shake me, wake me out of a haze. Remind me that the world's love is for every creature as we float through the cosmos together.
Really nice, empowering piece there, MS. Thank you so much for sharing that. Tell us about this book
This is
that you.
actually just out. It's called In Praise of Despair, and it's dedicated to Andrea Gibson. And it's by Beyond the Veil Press. It's a disability pride poetry, essay, and art anthology. And it's available only on Amazon.
That's fantastic. And so nice that it's dedicated to Andrea, a poet we just lost, who we just lost. Who I know is a lot of people are really still feeling that. She had a lot of impact with her work for many people. So thank you for bringing her name up and for dedicating that book to her. Feel free to post a link to it in the chat or even post it in the Poetry Superhighway Facebook group as well to catch people who aren't here.
Great.
And anything else going on in your poetry world you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I've got a couple poems coming out soon in an anthology called Coven of the East, Reclaiming Asian Women's Magical Histories, which is edited by Pauline Chow and Angela Eureka Smith, and a poem in I'll Get Right on It, Poems on Working Life in the Climate Crisis, which is by the Land and Labor Poetry Collective and will be published by Roseway Publishing in October. So for more news, my website is therecliningpoet.com because I'm always reclining. So,
It's a
um,
great domain name to have. And what was the name of the publication that I was thought also had a great title? I'll get right on it.
mhm,
Great title.
thank you. Yeah, I'll pass that along.
Cool. Well, MS, thank you so much for being here. I know it's your first time here, so welcome to you as well. It was Larry's first time here too. Please don't let it be your last.
Thank you. This is really fun.
Cool. All right. A round of applause for MS Marquardt. On deck is Randy Fowler. Please welcome now Jennifer Phillips. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, good to see you. Um, the one I'm going to read is one of two that just came out in this rather lovely journal, Exacting Clam, which is, I think, one of the great titles of the poetry journal. It's called Sprung. Sky, the color of old dust under the bed. Rain on the way. How is it we find ourselves waiting it out again, waiting any of it out in our scarcity? Hummingbirds fritter around the unblooming maples. Still as cold as March 2 months later, but the push is on. Magnolia buds ajar, flocks crossing in the night like Passover angels. Morning opens its other pharaonic eye. Raspberry canes vault upward and spider across the ditches. Doves in the grass are bent on wooing and pursuit. Can't be coy, it's on the wing. One reservoir fills to straining, overtops its levees while we are leaning on our shovels. Another dwindles and dries. Children run through the sprinklers, leave all the taps running and the lights on. Time, that rattlesnake we have no idea of, lying in wait. Time whittling away at us all the while. Fiddle tune repeating endlessly in our palaces. Smell of smoke.
Nice piece, Jennifer. Really glad to hear that. Thoughtful, wistful. Exacting Clam is a fantastic name also for a journal. So very cool. How's life with you in poetry these days?
Life is good. Life is good. I keep writing in my retirement in Cape Cod, and it gets me through the times. When I write angry poems, I write environmental doom poems, I write hate the politics poems, I write nature poems and retrospectives, and one way or another, it keeps a sense of balance and moving forward. And I've been to some actually lovely Zoom poetry performance readings put on by the New England Poetry Society, which I recommend. They have a website and they have some really nice readings of notable New England poets. So a good resource.
That's great. I'm glad you're keeping active with poetry, and that the coolest thing for me is learning about all the different poetry things that happen all over the world, which is why I get excited when people talk about their local things, because you never know when someone else who happens to live in your area, who might not even be in the Zoom, but who might be watch later, says, "Oh, I had no idea that was happening in my
Yeah.
area." So that's so cool.
Well, I would feel like I had arrived in the New England poetry world if I got invited to do a reading at the Grolier Bookshop. Do you know of that in Cambridge?
I do not.
Square. It is an all poetry little bookshop that has been there since Noah. Just generations it's been there, and it's just a magnificent resource. And they have more variety of poets on their shelves, and they have wonderful readings as well. So it's if you get invited to read there, it's a kind of a rival in the Bostonian scene. So I live in hope anyway.
Keep us up to date and let us know when you're there. Um, Grolier Bookstore. I did not know about that, so that's another cool thing to know about.
They have a website also. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, well, feel free to put that in the chat if you want people to check it out. No worries. I know it's just something you know about. It's not per se your venue, but I get it. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today.
You.
All right, round of applause for Jennifer Phillips reading to us from Cape Cod. All right, moving on. Lorraine Caputo, you are on deck. Please welcome now Randy Fowler. Hello, Randy.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh,
Randy, we can hear you. You're good. Go ahead. And
okay. All right. 10-yard dash. And don't be thrown off by part one and part two. It's not that long. Part one, suitcase of memories. Unopened for 30 years. Pop the latches, dust puffs. Open the trunk, dust billows. Clean, then pour through pictures. One captures attention. Summer 1988. Memories flood back. Preteens lined up for a 10-yard dash. One child wipes sweat from her forehead, another licks his lips, another hitches up his shorts. All are eager and ready. A man holds up his hands to say, wait. They stay still. Tension fills the air. Who will win? What will the losers get? The truck drives away. The man drops his hands. The kids dash like their lives depend on it. They reach the garbage dump, stuff food scraps into their pockets, stuff more into their mouths. I feel like vomiting. The town dump is as high as a 2-story building. The kids also live there. Guatemala City, summer 1988. Part two. 6 weeks later, summer service at the orphanage ends. Receive 2 weeks of training on reentry shock. Fly back to the United States. At the airport, all I see is waste. Half a burger thrown away over there, half a drink thrown away over here, a granola bar lying next to that trash can. 1/3 of a meal left on a plate. To quote the Bible, or paraphrase the Bible, I used to see through a dark glass. Now I see my culture face to face and my reflection in its mirror. On the ride home, open my photo album, find the picture of the town dump, and remove it from its sleeve. Flip several pages, insert it next to a picture of where I live, a beach scene in Santa Barbara, California. Poem.
Well, you're right. Those two parts didn't seem too painful at all in terms of length.
Mm. Thanks.
Uh, are you reading those from Santa Barbara?
No, I have since moved. I'm in Long Island.
Oh,
That's where my wife's from.
okay.
And by the way, I'm for your contest lasting 29 years. We just passed our 29th year of marriage, September 2nd.
The whole contest has been a tribute to your marriage, Randy.
I'm sure that's what I thought.
That was what can I do for Randy and his wife, in 97 is what I was thinking. And it's all come together. I'm glad you finally made it.
Thanks.
What's going on with you in poetry?
Well, I have been published in some anthologies, but I made my first finals in a contest after 15 months for a haiku that I did for the Babylon Village Arts Council. So that was pretty fun. And then my book, Dancing with Despair and Delight, is going through editing right now.
That's great. When do you expect it to come out?
Well, I'm hoping by the end of the year, but it's been in process for a long time. I've been in the queue for a long time, so.
Yeah, I guess if you're doing it right, it does take a while and a lot of work needs to go into it. But so that makes sense. That's par for the course, I think. Well, Randy, thank you for being here. I hope you go another 29 years with your marriage, and we'll keep the contest going as long as you guys stay together. How about that?
Okay, thanks.
All right, round of applause for Randy Fowler. Thank you, Randy. Um, on deck is Eric Paul Schaefer. Please welcome now Lorraine Caputo. Hello, Lorraine.
Hello. Good afternoon, y'all. Um, let's see. This is called The Morning Ride. A blind man boards, one eye sunk, other cloudy. He grasps the bar with one hand, his cane in the other. He makes his plea for alms and walks down the aisle, unsteady with the trolley's passage through the morning traffic. At each stop, the people come, the people go. A young man reads a book. One hand reaches into his pink leopard knapsack for a piece of bread. A skateboard rests between his feet. At each stop, the people come, the people go. A young woman enters, her child bound to her chest with a soiled blanket. With a wavering voice, she sings. She smiles as the baby reaches for a breast. At each stop, the people come, the people go. Standing up, sitting down, other folks scroll cell phone screens, awaiting the announcement of their stop. At each stop, the people come, the people go. Sometimes the morning ride passes without a supplication, without an announcement, just the squeak of brakes, the hiss of doors opening and closing. At each stop, no one comes, no one goes. Another young woman yawns wide. She then falls into a sleepy trance, her large eyes staring into nothing. She adjusts one earbud, then the other, shifting her mud-splattered shoes. Pink socks match her pink painted lips. At each stop, the people come, the people go. A thin man in grime, shiny clothes that reveal patches of his darkened skin picks up the front paws of his reluctant dog and dances. He looks eagerly at the passengers, hoping someone. At each stop, the people come, the people go. A middle-aged couple takes seats facing each other. They look into each other with love-struck eyes. Her right foot touches his. At each stop, the people come, the people go. Now to that final stop where the last of us shall hoist our bags, stow cell phones, or perhaps stay glued to the screen, and head to our morning obligations. At this stop, the people go, we go.
Sorry, started talking before I unmuted myself. Really enjoyed that. That ride, literally, as it were, a lot of nice rhythm in there, and just I love observational. You're in the middle of it, watching it happen. Poems, well done.
Thank you.
What's happening with you in poetry?
Well, I have some waiting on some upcoming publications and journals of not only poetry and narratives, but also artwork, appearing in journals in the US and Europe. So, yep, and keeping my blog going. I'm working on an article right now on Patagonian species. My blog is Latin America Wanderer. If anybody wants to pop over and check it out. I'll
Well,
put the link
definitely
in the
put a link in the chat so people can do that. And thank you so much for being with us today and giving us such a great piece.
thank you.
Round of applause for Lorraine Caputo's leaving us with a song. Very good. I'm on deck to close out the open reading. Please welcome now recent poet of the week, Eric Paul Schaefer. Hi, Eric.
Aloha, everybody. I'm here on the island of Oahu with my beautiful periwinkle house behind me, a color I had to fight for, but I'm glad I got it. My book, Second Nature, comes out next year, and this is the first poem in the book. It's called Field Trips. But I do want to say one thing. I may not look it. I mean, I know I look young and everything, but I'm 70. And when I was a very young boy in the 6th grade, I met Robert Kennedy, not the new one, the one who was assassinated. And that's the one I'm talking about in this poem that was written long before I'd ever heard of his contemptible son. Sorry about that. All right, Field Trips. I was not only a little in love with Miss Nichols. So when one day she told us Robert Kennedy and his wife Ethel were her friends, I wanted to believe her, but I wasn't sure. I was nobody. And she taught 6th grade in Cinderblock School beyond the borders of the district. So how could she be anybody? The name Kennedy was familiar from history and news. From my bedroom, I could see the dome of the Capitol and the pale needle of the Washington Monument. I knew we lived close to power, but I thought the voltage flowed through webs above our heads on poles and black wires stitching the suburbs to the light. The rowdy class challenged her, so we marched the broad halls to the phone in the principal's office. She spun the dial and handed me the black receiver. "This is my friend Ethel Kennedy," said Miss Nichols. And I said, "Hello." "Hello, what's your name?" I told her. She asked, "What are you studying in school?" And I answered her as I answered my parents, "Nothing." There was silence. She wasn't as pleased as my parents. There was no more to say, so I returned the phone to my teacher. She patted my hand and smiled. Later, she arranged for us to meet Robert Kennedy in the Attorney General's office. He was loud, a small, jovial man in a large room. But what I remember most was the ruddiness of his complexion and a small thread on his sleeve. Our homework was to scour the newspaper for a serious question to ask the man Mrs. Nichols called Bobby. So, as a token of my love for her, I gathered my courage and raised my voice. "What do you think of President Johnson's war on poverty?" And he saw me for that one moment. He spoke encouraging words I wish I remembered now. At the door, he shook each of our hands, my hand. Maybe it was Miss Nichols, too, who took us on a field trip to the U.S. Mint, where we watched green ink and linen become the currency of our nation. The man at the mint held $10,000 over our heads and let each of us hold the bill for a moment. The paper was stiff and new, ridged with green, the fingerprint of wealth on an open palm. I wonder now at all the silliness we believe of the past. Hope and questions of why or why not are for the future. And we forget that fate is an illusion born of looking back. No fate elected I would witness flames rising between America's needle, thimble, and me, but I did. In those elementary days, I was not fated to become as inarticulate as my dull response to Ethel Kennedy on the phone. Bobby was not fated to be shot by a misguided man whose fame I refused to speak. Nor was I fated to grow as rich as briefly holding a $10,000 bill in the 60s seemed to promise. And never were we fated to hold whatever now fills our hands. Thank you.
Eric, thank you. Wonderful piece, wonderful memory, wonderful story. We're all kind of envious, I'm sure, that you got to meet this person even once back when the Kennedys were A, alive, and B, good,
Yes.
if I may. And I realize actually this is the week that you just became Poet of the Week yesterday, so people can check out a couple more of your poems as top billing this week on Poetry Superhighway. Glad to have you up this week. I'm enjoying the periwinkle color of your house. I'm glad you got that. What's happening with you in poetry?
As I said, Second Nature, my book will come out in 2026. It's my 10th book of poems. And I'm really, really happy to have one more down because when I retired, I made a list of all the writing projects I still had to finish, and there were 14, and now I'm down to 9. Yes. So I still have work to do.
Well, since you're a young man, you have plenty of time to get that going.
Thank you for saying so.
Now that you've got the house color just taken care of, you can focus on these other things.
Exactly. I know.
And plus there's all the burdens of living in Hawaii, which I'm sure are weighing heavily on you.
I know. I should share with you guys. It's pretty tough. It really is harsh. I pick papayas in the morning and wander down to the beach every once in a while, and it's really hard. So thank you for your sympathy.
If you need any support from us, please let us know.
I will email every one of you.
Good. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Glad to meet you. And it's nice to have a poet who's a Poet of the Week, showing up to support the event and to hear your work in person. So thanks so much. Come again.
You are welcome. Good thing I checked my email this morning early.
That's why we send them.
We look forward to your poem.
All right. Thank you. A round of applause for Eric Paul Schaefer. Thank you, Eric, which I believe just leaves me to close out the open reading. I have a new book out. It's called High Moose Alert. It's poems I wrote last summer when my wife Addie and I were lucky enough to visit Vancouver, the Canadian Yukon, and parts of Alaska. And so I'm going to read to you a poem from it that I wrote at the end of an evening in Dawson City, which is the gold rush destination in the heart of the Yukon in Canada. This poem is called Goodnight, Dawson City. Dawson City, Canada only has one paved road. We walked it today, but mostly the unpaved ones, the just dirt ones, the ones which made me wonder if I found a shovel, could I dig up the road? Some of the buildings, or at least one, sunk because their occupants melted the permafrost beneath them. I never thought about the word permafrost until today, when much of what I did was look at it. I'm at a point in my life where I could tell you what permafrost is. This is new. It is midnight and still light outside. This is the land of the midnight sun. That sounds like poetry, but I'm just quoting what I heard. Tomorrow we go to the second largest city in Alaska. I'm an international traveler many times over on this trip alone. Tyrell tells us it's just a place, whereas the next place is the destination. He said that about the last place relative to this place. I'm a huge fan of places. I can't wait to meet the next one and the next. All right. I'm reminded, I think we were going to maybe Fairbanks, Alaska after that, which maybe he wasn't a big fan of. And after that, we were going to Denali, which was a truly spectacular place to be at. So there you go. That's from my book, High Moose Alert, available wherever any books about moose are sold. So check it out if you'd like. And be on constant alert is my suggestion. Thank you all for being here. This was not our biggest PSH live open reading, but certainly a very good one. Thank you, Lawrence, MS Marcourt, Jennifer Phillips, Randy, Lorraine, and Eric for being here. You gave us a fantastic 40 minutes or so of poetry. Our next event will be on October 12th, just over a month from now, and that will be when we announce the winners of our poetry contest. Same time, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. If you live in other parts of the country, I wasn't prepared with that time zone math, so you'll have to figure that out on your own. But you've got a month, so there you go. So it's always a cool packed event because people are very excited to know if they won the contest. That means you still have time to enter the contest. The deadline is September 27th. You can check out all the guidelines on how to do that on the website poetrysuperhighway.com/PSH, and then should be obvious to go where to go from there. $1 per poem entry fee. All the money goes to the contest winners, and everyone gets a prize just for entering, thanks to the generosity of the sponsors. By the way, it's judged by people who were high-scoring poets in last year's contest. They received the poems blindly. They get a batch of poems every day. Whatever came in that day might be from one poet, might be from 4 or 5 poets. They get them all in one email without knowing whose poems or whom. There's no names on them, and they send them back scored, and that's how we determine who the winners are. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to click on the Ask All to Unmute button in case you guys want to say hi to each other before we shut this thing down for this month.
Thanks, Rick. Hi,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. It's really nice
Great to
meet
have a couple of
everyone.
newcomers. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all for sharing. Thank you, Rick, for the space.
Yes.
My pleasure.
All right.